Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from 6 group. The member of 6 group are Rizka Maulita, Yayang Karisma Putri, Agustin Wulandari, Indriana Puspitasari, Syarifah Evita Nur Faradela, and Ulin Nabila will be explain the material about learning style and cognitive style. Table of contents. 1. What are learning style? 2. Basic conceptual issues. 3. Cognitive styles. 4. Problems with the notion of cognitive style. 5. Leading models of styles and their assessment. 6. Assessing cognitive and learning styles. 7. Cognitive and learning styles in L2 studies. 8. Assessing language learning style. 9. The Ehrman and Lever learning style questionnaire. 10. Griffith's inventory of language learning styles, or ILLS. 11. Practical implication, and 12. Conclusion. First material, what are learning style? According to the standard definition, they refer to an individual's natural, habitual, and preferred ways of absorbing, processing, and retaining new information and skills. Since learning style is often used as a metaphor for considering the range of individual differences in learning. 2. Basic conceptual issues. In the second language acquisition literature, there has been a considerable amount of overlap ever since Stern positioned a personal learning style at the top of his list of strategies employed by good language learners. The two concepts are thematically related, since they both denote specific ways learners go about carrying out learning tasks. According to Snow, the main difference between the two concepts, learning styles and strategies, lies in their breadth and stability, with a style being a strategy used consistently across a class of tasks. 3. Cognitive styles. Cognitive styles are usually defined as an individual's preferred and habitual modes and perceiving, remembering, organizing, processing, and representing information. As a learner, if learning style is represented as a profile of the individual's approach to learning, this profile can be seen to comprise two fundamental levels of functioning. The first is cognitive, referring to a stable and internalized dimension related to the way a person thinks or processes of information. Second is the level of the learning activity, which is more external and embraces less stable functions that relate to the learner's continuing adaptation to the environment. Therefore, problems with the notion of cognitive style will be explained by Yayang Karisma.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yayang Karisma Putri. I would like to explain the next material is problem with the notion of cognitive style. The problem is that past research has not been able to show that the idea of cognitive style is theoretical construct with existing concept. According to Steinberg and Giorgico, were two instruments put to many ways to measure style. Many of the actual identify and measure style dimensions were not subtle spread from certain ability and personality character. This led to the fall of the most famous cognitive style dimension, fault, depends, and independence. Next, leading model of the style and their assessment. Reading and Klopp's style are two leading models of style. They are described in terms of the strengths and flaws. The first, reading system. Reading system Richard reading has been a major proponent of cognitive style research. There are two cognitive style systems. The first, Woolley's style dimension. According to reading, Woolley's tend to see situation as whole. Woollies are big picture people and therefore can easily lose sight of the detail. The strength is that they can spread out a situation into its part. Second, verbal imagery style. Consider the way information is represented. Verbalists tend to focus outward and prefer a stimulus environment. Imagers tend to be more passive with an inward focus content with static environment. And then Klopp model of learning style. Learning style construct was based on the formulation of the main dimension, concept abstract, active and repetition, information processing. The first concept and repetitive have achieved their label because they prefer concept situations that call the generation of ideas, such as a brainstorming. And then Carver's abstract and active are abstract thinker who generate ideas and theories. Assimilator, abstract and reflexive, are also abstract thinkers. They are less interested in people that in abstract concept. And accommodator are the most hands-on learners. They like concept experiment and active experiment.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Agustin Wandari. I will continue the next explanation. It is about assessing cognitive and learning styles. Irvini, 2001, stated rather disappointingly that the enforced conclusion one may have to accept with reluctance is that the means of pursuing in operational form the evaluation pimpleness of an accessible measurement protocol for styles is not available. He found this all the more disconcerting as in their everyday life people do not seem to have any trouble identifying various style characteristics. As he pointed out, the notion of style is so intuitively certain in ordinary people untrammeled by psychology's preoccupation with measurement that professional entertainers make a good living by mimicking styles among the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly. To establish ways of assessment, either by rallying one's learners on self-report on how they perceive their cognitive function or by asking learner to perform mini information processing tasks and making inference from their performance. Example of good types, COPS, learning style inventory, and Reading's cognitive style analysis. Then, Reading and Reiner 19 and 98 emphasize several positive features of the TSI. It is an objective test in the sense that it is objectively scored and the respondents are not aware of the real focus of the assessment. Both ends of the style continuum are assessed, which makes it distinct from mature abilities, because the limited and simple language it involves. It is used is partially across age and proficient group. Then the computerized format creates context-free characters which allow it to be used across situations and cultures. To capture an inherent problem with the concept of style, when styles are theorized in a parsimonious and comprehensive fashion, they become difficult, perhaps impossible, to measure reliably. This may also be a significant factor behind the relative slowdown in the recent activity in this area. Learning style assessment instruments have shown very little development since 2005. I think enough for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Indriana Puspitasari, and here I want to continue the material. I would like to explain about cognitive and learning style in L2 study. Cognitive and learning style in L2 study. By the fact that empirical study conducted on L2 learning style have typically produced weak, mixed, or at the best moderate result. As a consequence, there has been a gradual loss of interest in language learning style research. File dependence independence in L2 studies. The initial momentum in L2 style research was generated by the conceptualization of file-dependent independent, or FDI. Some people are very reliant on this sector, which in practical terms, this means that they can see inconspicuous objects right in front of their nose. For example, they are hopeless when they are looking for a little item such as a nail that's fallen on the floor. Therefore, while independent people make great spies, for example, signs they can the cumulate of the enemy against its natural backdrop. Thus, as with another cognitive and learning style, the validity of a style concept and the psychometric qualities of the instrument that measure this concept are inextricably bound. Second is sensory preference. The learning style factor that most language instructors and even many language students may have learned of is the cognition of sensory preference into visual, auditory, kinetic, and often tactile form. The different sensory preferences do not exclude each other. For example, successful learners often use both visual and auditory input, but they are said to display slight preference or modality strength one way or the other. Thank you.
I am Sarifah Bitanov Faradela. I would like to explain about assessing language learning style and the Ehrman and Lever learning style questionnaire. The first is assessing language learning style. There have been a number of published instruments available for teachers and researchers to measure L2 learning styles. The tests vary in how much reliability and validity data have been reported about them by the authors. But it is fair to say that most of them have been developed for practical rather than research purposes. That is to raise language learners' awareness of style issues in general and of their own style preference in particular. Perceptual Learning Style Preference Questionnaire PLS-PQ. Joyridge, 1995, Perceptual Learning Style Preference Questionnaire PLS-PQ, originally developed in 1984, was the first learning style measure widely known in the L2 field. Based loosely on the VAKT model, it consists of 30 randomly ordered statements for 6 learning style preferences: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactical, group learning, and individual learning. It used 5-point Likert scale items ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree, focusing on behavioral preferences. Style Analysis Survey (SAS). Rebecca Oxford, 1993, Reid, 1995, Style Analysis Survey (SAS) is similar to the PLS-PQ, and that although it has been devised by an L2 expert and has primarily been used with L2 learners, the items themselves are not subject-specific. Section 1 of the SAS targets sensory preferences similarly to the PLS-PQ, but the other 4 sections focus on other established personality or style characteristics: extraversion versus introversion, intuitive versus concrete or sequential, closure-oriented versus open, global versus analytic. The SAS is also a user-friendly test with a self-scoring sheet, explanation about the results, and some practical tips and suggestions. Next is the Ehrman and Lever Learning Styles Questionnaire. In contrast to the SES approach, the EML construct, as Madeline Ehrman and Bedilo Lever 2003, Ehrman 2001, named their system, represented an attempt to reconceptualize cognitive styles in language learning. It is similar to reading theory in that it reorganized a number of established style dimensions under a new, comprehensive, and parsimonious superordinate contract.
Okay, so the next is Griffith's Inventory of Language Learning Style, or ILLS. Griffith Inventory of Language Learning Style, ILLS. What is revealing about this inventory is that this makes no claim of theoretical purity, nor does it seeks to reconceptualize language learning style in any grand fashion. Instead, this is a down-to-earth pragmatic instrument with a singularity pedagogic focus. It brings together a mixed selection of items from various assessment instruments from both inside and outside L2 studies in a compact and easy to administer format. In doing so, the ILS seems to suggest a need to take stock as well as a sense of the end of the line for a serious research-based approach for the study of styles in L2 learning. This instrument implies an acknowledgement that such instruments, which measure learning styles, need to address the immediate practical concern of the classroom. The next is practical implication. This discussion so far has revealed the concept of cognitive and learning style to be somewhat vague and elusive from both theoretical and research perspective. Can the concept be used in a way to promote the effective of learning? The answer that the field of education has given is a qualified yes. In fact, Caulfield et al. 2004 point out that much of the styles-related activity and development has been driven and needs of practitioners rather than learning theorists. This is an attractive and intuitive appealing notion for all involved in learning, as it promises not only improvement learning outcome but also more pleasant learning experiences. So the conclusion is that cognitive styles have an adaptive function. They mediate the relation between an individual and his or her environment. Although styles are generally stable individual characteristics, they may also change or develop in response to specific environmental circumstances, educational or profession, for instance. Thank you. So that was all our presentation about styles and about learning styles and cognitive styles. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.